What up, y'all? I'm Rajay,
And I'm Shy, and welcome to the RXS
the
podcast.
podcast where we provide inspiration, motivation, and information to the music community.
Let's
Gang, gang,
go.
gang.
So, what are we talking about today, babe?
Today we're talking about growing as a musician, and having integrity.
Those are two major things.
Yeah, with a good friend of mine, of ours.
Okay, come
More
on.
mine than yours, but that's all right anyway. She ain't friends with none of my friends, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, enjoy. Peace.
All right.
What's good, y'all? I'm here with my boy Dennis Dudley. I finally got him in here. Hey, but you kept your word though.
I did.
That's my boy.
I did.
Hey, first of all, let me start off by saying this. For real, I think you're one of the most integral people I know. Like, do you like if Dennis say I'm gonna be here this day, I'm gonna be here. If I don't know and I need to call you back, that's what he say. Then he call back. Like, all right, this is what the deal is. Some people be like, hey man, let me call you back.
Don't hear nothing.
Dennis, don't call back at all.
I know.
Like you like, where does that come from?
Knowing how it feel to get it done, get that done to you.
Yes,
You know
sir.
what I'm saying? Knowing what it feel like. I think we all know what it feel like, and you don't want to make nobody else feel that way either. You know what I'm saying? Especially people that you cool with. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? People that you work with. You know, got working relationships and stuff like that. So, I mean, I try to keep my word. Try to remember what I said. To you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So now that we got that out of the way, because I wanted to say that because I like to give props to the homies when they on they.
Yes, sir.
You really are one of the most integral people I know. All right, but now I want to start. Take me to the beginning, man. I want to know about Dennis Dudley from birth on up.
Jeez. So where do I start? We talking about music or what?
No, I'm talking about beginning Dennis before the music, because I know there's a story before the music.
Man, I think music was the beginning.
Okay,
Even before I got in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But man, just really thinking about the beginning, all I can really think of and remember is pots and pans. You know what I'm saying? Pots and pans. My dad played guitar.
Okay.
So I vaguely remember like certain rehearsals, a few rehearsals. I remember going to different quartet concerts, you know what I'm saying? Really young, stuff like that. Of course, I was into sports and stuff like that as well, but I think music been strong from the beginning.
Wow.
From the beginning. Music was strong from the beginning.
So the first thing you wanted to play was drums?
I ain't going to say wanted to, but I believe most of us come out with rhythm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We kind of come out with rhythm. So, and the first thing we do is we come out and we beating on stuff. So we develop rhythm, you know, by default. And you just find stuff to start hitting and stuff like that. So whatever you can find, pencils, pens, whatever. So I think it definitely developed with rhythm, you know, which led to drums. And from there, it just kind of started stemming on to other stuff.
So how old were you when you like started playing drums?
You mean like really showing interest?
Yes, exactly.
I want to say maybe around the 3-4ish mark.
Jeez,
Yeah, because my uncle used to play drums and he used to sit me on his lap at a early age, and you know I've heard a million of times of whenever he would take me off his lap, I'm crying. So you know that interest was there early.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was there early, so that definitely started around that 3-4 mark.
So you grow up, you playing drums. How long did you play drums before you went to another instrument?
I don't think I ever stopped playing an instrument to go to another one.
Okay.
I think other stuff just kind of started bleeding in a little bit.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But guitar was after that.
Okay.
Guitar was after that, but I didn't stick with guitar.
Oh.
I didn't stick with it because my mom had put me in lessons at Johnson Music, a whole music, store in Kinston. And the guy was teaching me stuff like a regular F major, regular C major. I'm used to quartet, You
want some plucking and some picking.
Yeah,
that
I'm
sweet
used
stuff.
Exactly. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to learn how to do this because I ain't used to seeing this. You know what I'm saying? So, man, after like 2 lessons, I was like, I don't want to go back. And she ain't make me go back. But, man,
Did you wish you would have stayed?
Man, it hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. Just knowing what I know now. And that would have been my first serious instrument that I really, really learned. And early, I'm talking about like early on, that would have been like my first one that I really, but yeah, that came after drums.
And then what came next?
Then it was keys.
Okay.
It was keys, and I don't think keys was something that I just keys interest me a lot, but it was weird how I learned keys because I never actually owned no instrument. I didn't have no instrument of my own for a very long time. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have an instrument of my own, but what I used to do was I would either go in Walmart, Radio Shack. Back then Radio
Shack had the keyboards on the thing
for
shelf.
display and stuff. Yeah, you go out there, cut the switch on, and
that light blink.
Exactly. So I would learn a chord today. You know what I'm saying? When the family ready to go, they ready to go.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember this one chord.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For the next time I come in here, and then I can find another one to go
with. So you
that.
Just play it, memorize it, and be like, I get the next one when I come back.
Yeah, but I was learning chord for chord. I won't never learning no songs or no progressions. I was learning a chord here, learning a chord next week, or whenever I get ready to go in another store, or had access to like a keyboard or something like that. Early on too, I used to go to when I finally met like Kariji.
Shout out Kariji,
yeah, Kariji, Joel, and Galen. They used to stay together. They used to have a house together.
Wow.
Yeah, they used to have a house together back in the day, and I would go over there and ask for another chord. Let me get a chord. Let me get a chord. Let me get a chord. And little by little, I kind of started putting stuff together, putting chords together.
So you started to know, okay, this chord I learned this day can go right behind this chord.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And it just went from 2 chords to 3 chords. It went from progressions eventually to songs. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, but it was a slow process because you got to do a lot when it come down to keys. We start out trying to play the bass line and stuff like that, but later on you learn that this left hand really supposed to be carrying the meat of, you know what I'm saying, the chords, and this is like a color hand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I had to kind of relearn what the Real Dogs was really doing.
Yeah. Hey, do you remember the first song you played on keys?
I don't remember. I don't remember because it took me so long to gather up enough chords to play, you know what I'm saying? Because it took me a long time, and I was just learning one chord here. Later on down the line, here go another chord. Later on down the line, here. A lot of times I was forgetting chords. You know what I'm saying? But the more I did it, it kind of picked up pace a little bit. And one thing just kind of led to another. And eventually I learned how to form some songs.
So once you started playing for real, like learning songs, did you like start playing at church or anything?
No. When I had really started playing keys, I was still playing drums.
Okay.
And I could function on keys pretty good, but I was still playing drums. Like I was going around doing dates with Joel and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Drums.
Yeah, but I was playing drums. Yeah, and I'm talking about he was taking me some everywhere playing, but I was playing keys. You know what I'm saying, whenever I had a chance, I was playing keys and I had enough chords to kind of put together. And I had started developing almost playing songs all the way through and stuff like that. But I was still predominantly like
And
drums.
how old were you at this time?
I was young. I was younger than 15. Yeah, I was younger than 15. I was younger than 15.
So after playing keys, because I know you did end up start playing like at a church, right? You played keys at church.
That was way down.
Exactly. So did you learn bass before you ever start playing keys like a lot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was something else that kind of just started bleeding in. You know what I'm saying? And I never knew nothing about a bass.
Uh-huh.
And I never had an interest for bass. Like, I ain't know nothing about a bass at all.
If y'all heard him play, y'all would think that's crazy.
I never knew nothing about a bass. My aunt bought me a bass for Christmas.
Just randomly.
You know, bought me a bass for Christmas. And this is no lie, man. I took the bass out of the box and I started learning how to play, like just play. And I had a CD around that time, Victor Spate and the End Time Messengers.
Yes.
And around that time, Terrence and them had did that record. So
Terrence White, guys.
Yeah, it was right. It was the whole River crew that played on this record. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't start out learning, like taking baby steps on bass. You know what I'm saying? Like I was studying stuff like that. So that's
your introduction to playing bass was practicing to those songs.
Right, exactly. And you know, Terrence was already, you know what I'm saying, like the Kevin Bond changes and
very elite.
Yeah, you know, so I was already kind of learning
movements and stuff.
Movements and passes and all that kind of stuff before I really realized what I was playing. And the weird thing that happened was I hooked up with Mr. Vic, because Mr. Vic have kind of been like a person that a lot of us ended up going through.
Yes, sir.
Terrence, Kariji, like all of them. I went to his house one day and man, he grabbed the bass, start trying to play it and stuff. He was like, something wrong. I said, what's wrong? You know? He said, man, it ain't tuned. He said, it's tuned bad.
So you've been practicing with a bad tuned bass?
Man, I done learned, man, I'm sitting here playing his songs in front of him from his album that Terrence and them, you know what I'm saying, produced.
Do you remember how you tuned it?
I didn't. I just took it out the box. I just took the bass, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't know that I ain't know nothing about tuning.
Yeah.
I ain't know that it was untuned. I know nothing about a tuner. And like I said, I'm at Mr. Vic house playing songs off his
4-string, 5-string.
4-string bass. I'm playing the songs off his album, and like I said, he grabbed a bass and he noticed, man, this ain't tuned. It's a mess. Mm-hmm. He said, you got two options. He said, we can keep this thing like this and only you'll be able to play your bass, or I'll tune it right, show you how to keep it tuned right, and you're going to have to start over from scratch. And I told him, man, I said, I got to do this thing the right way.
Right way.
I got to do it the right way. And, man, he gave me a paper. He gave me a paper with my notes and stuff on it, and took it home. And shortly, man, I was back at his house playing his songs all over with the bass tune right. And, man, we laugh about that to this day.
Yeah, because that's crazy. You learned the songs from just taking the bass out of the box.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I thought about just keeping it tuned like that, but I'm like, man, I don't want nobody to grab my bass and they can't play it. You know what I'm saying? Crazy. And I'm like, nah, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So that's how bass kind of came.
And how old were you then?
I want to say maybe I might have been around 16, 17, somewhere around there.
So then when did the sports come in?
Well, I was kind of always playing sports. I just never got into it as serious as music. And music kind of took off fast because, like I said, I was already kind of going around with Joel. And Joel was a person that was already looked at as in working. He was doing dates with artists and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, man, I'm connected to him. I'm doing pretty good. But like I said, I was playing drums, but, you know, it takes a long time for you to get to a good place as an athlete.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So music can come fast. We start off playing in church, you know what I'm saying? Like early. So we already feel like we
in it.
Yeah, we in it already a little bit. So, yep.
So did you ever get to a point where you had to make a decision whether you were going to do music or play sports?
Oh, no. Nah. You know, when I kind of got a whiff of I could start making a little change.
Yes, Lord.
You know what I'm saying? And then it was still probably like $25.
Yeah, but that's money.
Man, it was then.
So you're like, nah, I'm going to get this bread.
Yeah, and you know, it was then being a young guy, because I remember when I used to get like $25, $35, man, it felt good.
Yeah.
Because I was young, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't have no bills or no responsibilities. I ain't want to do nothing but go to McDonald's and, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, that's when McDonald's had the 2 for $2.
I ain't never get the 2 for $2.
Yo, back in the days, like, you know how they got like the 2 for $5 or the 2 for $6 now?
Okay.
Like, you could get 2 Big Macs for $2, yo, back then.
Wow. Yeah,
What was you ordering from McDonald's, man?
Man, I don't even remember. I don't remember, but man, that little $25, $35 felt
like a lot.
Good. Yeah, it felt like a lot.
To be a young kid, like, making money playing an instrument.
Yeah.
Like, as if you playing sports in school, like, okay, they cheering or whatever, but I can't buy nothing.
And it felt good because I ain't always get paid. A lot of times when you're young, you won't get paid every time. So when you do get paid, it feel good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So and it wasn't about the money. I think that's a big thing that's kind of different now. I mean, guys that's coming up, they want to get paid.
Like, yes.
You know what I'm saying? They know you getting paid.
Yes.
And they want to get paid too. But then, man, it was like a big thing. Like the love for our gifts and stuff like that was, man, it was different. And I used to spend, when I really started gaining a true love for bass, I'm talking about I used to spend countless of hours, almost sun up to sundown, practicing bass. And I used to spend almost a whole day on the phone with Orlando.
Yes,
with Orlando Thompson, man. We would be on the phone from sun up to sundown, just practicing bass. I won't play nothing because I ain't know nothing to play, but he was killing so bad even back then. And it got to a point where we was always just so available all the time. And there was a few times where I call him and he wasn't free, he wasn't available, and I would feel some type of way because I'm like, man, every time I talk to him, I'm learning stuff.
Yeah.
And I ain't know how to learn on my own at that time. And one time he told me, he was like, man, you got to learn how to get it yourself because everybody not going to always be available. You know what I'm saying? He told me that like a long time ago, but man, I would learn so much by being on the phone with him, and he would just be doing some crazy stuff.
He's insane.
Man, yeah.
So what was that process like when you did get to the place where you had to start learning on your own? How did you do that?
I was continuing to listen at records, stuff like Mr. Vic CD, you know what I'm saying? Kariji had gave me something that, like a rehearsal or something like that he had did with Mr. Vic, and Orlando was playing bass up there. And that was almost like an introduction to me on how clean you need to be because, man, at that time, I thought he was playing key bass. Like not synth bass, yes, but key bass,
like the finger bass on the XP60.
Yeah, it was so clean and so precise. And Orlando has always been big on just making his bass sound like a piano bed. It was just even all the way through. And I was just steady listening at stuff like that, listening to Mr. Vic stuff, and just listening to records and stuff like that. Cause I ain't have no bass reference. No guys to reference, you know what I'm saying? In Kinston, guys was playing keys and drums and stuff. So I really didn't know who was playing bass like that around there. And quartet was big, but that wasn't. Later on when I hooked up with Kariji and them, quartet wasn't something that I was really chasing like that, because that's when they kind of started introducing all this fusion and Weather Report, Yellow Jackets, Chick Corea, all this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I was just steady listening to whatever I could listen, and stuff just kind of started bleeding, you know what I'm saying, in my ears, man, and, into my hands, really.
So once you get to this place, you're comfortable playing bass now.
Not comfortable like that. And I was comfortable at the house.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? I was comfortable at the house, but I would get in situations, rehearsals and stuff like that, where it mattered what I played and how I was playing it, and I realized that it ain't the same thing as practicing at the house.
That's a good.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
Because I had bad technique and stuff, and I remember one of my good friends, he's like my brother, Mal Williams.
Yes.
He had started putting me on to some conferences with him, with his dad, Rance Allen, like Luther and DJ Rogers and all of them. And I was still early on around this time, I'm still playing this 4-string bass.
Yeah, the same 4-string?
The same 4-string bass.
Okay.
And I never forget being in a rehearsal one day, and it was some line in one of the songs or something. And around this time, I wasn't playing with my fingers yet. I was thumbing it.
And you can't play but so fast with one thumb.
Man, look, he said, man, you ain't gonna play but so much line with that thumb. And that let me know that I gotta find the right technique.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was doing okay at the house, but like I said, the more open I got in situations and stuff like that, it let me know I really won't sweep. You know what I'm saying?
So you get back to the house. Did you how did you figure out the finger technique?
Hooking up, man, Orlando.
So you hit Orlando like, yo, man, I've been only playing.
So a lot of times Orlando was coming, and he was doing stuff with Carigi a lot around that time. So I'm there, rehearsals.
Oh, and you just watching them.
I'm there, yeah, a lot of times. So a lot of times we was just connecting, and I'm trying to figure out. I'm asking and I'm looking, yo, what you doing? How you doing this? How this supposed to be? I mean, I'm asking everything, and little by little, I was just getting little stuff. Going back to the house, practicing, connecting with him whenever, going back to the house, working on stuff.
So do you remember the first time you played bass in a situation where you felt like, I got it now?
Not really, but there was a point where I started feeling like, man, I feel like it's kind of paying off a little bit.
Yes, sir.
It took me a long time to really feel comfortable, like I was, like I'm pretty locked in now. It took me a long time because my aunt and them had started making me play in church, the same church that I was playing drums at. Now they making me play bass, and I'm like, nah, I ain't ready.
Yeah,
I ain't ready, and I knew I wasn't ready because it was already people that I was looking at and listening to, so I know what ready sounds like, and I know what ready looked like. And they was like, nah, you gonna play today.
You gonna play this bass today.
Yeah, and I needed that. It didn't feel good then because, man, I was jacking up, and but they just still just was like, nah, you gonna play.
Shout out to them.
Yeah.
For making you play.
Yeah, for real.
Because it's situations like that prepare you.
Yeah.
Because like you said, at the house, that's one thing, but it's like playing this service.
Yeah.
And then in black churches, anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the best breeding grounds for musicians because gospel music is every genre.
Yeah.
Somebody gonna sing a song you ain't never heard before in your life.
Yeah.
Then they gonna shout.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's a lot.
And anybody can kind of have a church job. You got to be hired to play on the R&B setting. A group got to want you to play quartet, and for like a gospel artist or a pop artist and stuff like that. But man, to play in church, you ain't got to be good.
Yeah.
It ain't got to be your gift. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
None of that kind of stuff,
So you're saying there's a difference in expectation in church, which is why you were able to get away with it.
Yeah. That sounds bad, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
And this is another big thing. I spent a huge time in a deliverance ministry.
Okay.
And that's different. You know what I'm saying? I came up in a Baptist church.
Mm-hmm.
So That was, Baptist, like big on choir stuff, all that kind of stuff. Then I went from there to a deliverance ministry, totally different type of ministry. It's really about flowing. At that point, you got to be big on flowing. It's still another situation where you don't have to be killing, because it ain't about killing then. It ain't about killing, and it ain't about being able to play in all your keys. Most deliverance ministries don't have the greatest instruments, the greatest players.
It's normally like a storefront organ, not really a B3.
That's where killers are made, in those small situations like that.
Yes, I know exactly I can see the environment in my head.
Because you don't have a lot of people telling you that you're wrong and stuff, and you kind of learning on your own, at your own pace and stuff like that. And some people end up growing because they can you can do what you want to do and kind of figure out your own style and your own placement and all this kind of stuff. But a lot of times guys get stuck there because they don't have people telling them that you're wrong, and then you don't have people showing you the right way a lot of times and stuff like that. So that was another introduction, deliverance ministry, and that did something totally different to me as a musician.
Was it a good different?
Yeah.
What kind of stuff were you learning?
Flowing, you know what I'm saying? Trying to create like a big sound.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Trying to create a big sound. And deliverance ministries, at one point it could be like a huge praise situation. In another situation, it could be big on worship. Like, you just didn't never really know, you know what I'm saying? So, and I'm not saying that I was sweet around this time, but this what I was kind of being introduced to. And around this time, Joel was coming to this particular church and doing a whole lot of playing, and my aunt was playing there too. But Joel was like one that was doing a lot of playing for a lot of different people around this time. So when I had started hearing him, he was doing a lot of different stuff that I wasn't really hearing a lot of, and I was hearing him, flowing a certain way and all this kind of stuff. So, like I said, just, flowing was like a really big thing, and it's still a really big thing when it come down to deliverance ministries, because a deliverance ministry is not a place. Ministry is not a place that you just gotta be killing and stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to flow and be able to, be ready to go whichever way the service is going.
So were you still coming home and like learning records and stuff then?
Man, when bass fell in my lap, I never stopped that.
Yeah.
And then keys started tightening up a whole lot more too, because I started getting a lot of opportunities, even if it was situations where I wasn't playing in and stuff. Like, when I started getting a little better, that's when I kind of connected with Marcus Pitt, his mom and dad, and all them.
Yeah. Is that when you moved?
No, I was still staying in Kinston.
Okay.
Still staying in Kinston, but when I started playing with Marcus and them, this was kind of after the whole deliverance ministry era for me. And because he had been following Terrence for so long,
yes,
it was a lot of stuff that he had been kind of connected in that I hadn't had an opportunity to tap in with all the way, because he was following up under Terrence like really, really strong. And I think he was probably more closer to Kariji, maybe around that time at first, and stuff like that as well. So, but that's where I started learning how to really play like in a full band setting when it came down to bass.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because they had a real bass rig over there. I come from playing in like a KB 300, and it sounded good coming out them keyboard amps a lot of times. But I had to start learning about a bass rig. You know what I'm saying, and stuff like that, and how to,
Are you still playing the same 4-string? Dennis. What up, y'all? I'm Rajay, and I want to say first, thank y'all for the support, thank y'all for the love, and thank y'all for watching and listening to this podcast. We really don't take it for granted. Hey, if y'all want to continue to support us by spending y'all money, I got a way for y'all to do that. Y'all go to rajxshaw.com and pick up that Make It Happen hoodie today. Life be crazy, but we still got to do what? Make it happen. Gang.
I can't believe you asked me that. I don't know where it is. I don't know where that bass is.
You held on to it, though.
For a while. I held on to it for a while. I felt like I was ready for another string. So I ended up and got a 5-string. My aunt bought me a 5-string.
Sweet.
But now, and you know, the older I got and the more I got into bass, I'm just like, man, I should have kept rolling with a 4 for a long time. And you never learn to appreciate a 4 until you start running into people like Mario.
Yeah, Jamario, yeah.
Because you feel like you need another string.
And he'll show you that you don't.
And he good with 3. You know, I think he good with 3. You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
Yeah, when I really started hearing people like Jamario, and I'm just like, I never even got here with a 4. You know what I'm saying? I didn't need a 5. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, after a while, man, you know, playing over there with Marcus and them, stuff kind of started opening up a little differently.
So were you hip to like the idea of being a session musician at this time?
No, sir. No.
You just trying to get the bass under your belt.
Yeah, because none of us was at this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, we was just playing. And it's almost like when we connected, we was all of what each other needed.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Because
it was the missing pieces to help each other develop.
Yeah.
Y'all at a stage now where y'all need each other to get to the next level.
Yeah.
We've got here, okay, we know how to play our instrument decent. Now we need to be in a band together to get to the next place.
Yeah, because I think around that time, Marcus was playing drums.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So eventually, he started taking keys more serious, and I was taking bass more serious, and I had slowed up with keys a little bit. I was still playing, but it's almost like everything just kind of started falling into place. And the more we was going to the river, and,
good God Almighty,
and hearing a live band, man, yes,
they were the blueprint for us all.
Man, listen,
you like we need to sound like that.
Yeah, and that was. I think we all still chasing that.
God, we are.
We all still chasing that. You know what I'm saying? But for a long time, man, we was just grinding. And we still didn't have it together. Like, we would go up there and spend times at their rehearsals.
Was Vars playing with y'all yet?
Oh no, this way before Vars.
Wow.
We still young.
Yeah.
We still young. Vic was playing drums then.
Okay.
And eventually Galen was there. So when Galen came along, he was able to bring a different dynamic to us because he had already had that river experience with Terrence and all them.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he was kind of applying pressure a little differently. You know?
So was he like talking to y'all or verbal or his musicians? He was?
Both.
Okay. What was some of the stuff he would tell y'all?
Man, he used to be on Marcus bad. He used to be on Marcus bad, and that's because, you know, man, Terrence make it hard on keyboard players. And I can't remember him getting on me too much, but I'm pretty sure there was a lot of times that he was. A lot of it too, though, was Galen loved to pick. He's a joker and stuff like that. So a lot of times he was just picking with Marcus just because, you know, we always kind of just laughing about everything and stuff like that. But it was both. And Galen was the type of drummer where you could feel where he was directing you to in his playing. He had a strong directional way of playing
drums. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. And then, you know, it just, man, one thing just kind of led to another. We kind of started locking in a little better the more we was going to the river and the more we was spending time up there. Man, a lot of times we would come right back to his church after spending so long at the river and pull all-nighters at Marcus' dad and them church.
So y'all go sit at the river all day, watch them play, go back to the church and like, all right, let's grind?
Man, yes. There was time that we fell asleep there and woke up there in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Like our hunger around that time was like, it was crazy. But to have those guys as the blueprint for us, because around this time I hadn't even met Rocky or Peanut or none of them yet. You know what I'm saying? But man, like everybody was at such
the band at the River Church was
across the board, man.
The whole entire band was A-listers. They had a sound that I still don't be hearing.
I'm telling you, it did. And I still text Terrence to this day, like, man, you affected me for life. And he like, oh man, stop it.
Yes, like when we seen them, like, cause like when we were in Wilson, like when we would see them, and we would get in rehearsals, like, yo, that's for us, it was the River Band and Luther Barnes Band.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if we could be somewhere in the middle of them two.
Yeah.
Cause it's like it's about parts and vibe and space.
Yeah.
And moving together.
Yeah.
It's like it's a cohesiveness that you can't, like, it's unmatched.
It is, man. It is. They man, spending time there, going there and stuff like that, it did a lot for us. The sound, the look, you know what I'm saying? The look, all that kind of stuff, man. And it was, like I said, that time period will always be a part of who we are. You know what I'm saying? Whether we playing together, whether we are separately doing our own things, it'll forever be a huge part of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that they kept us from screwing up a lot because they were such a great blueprint. You know what I'm saying? It really kept us from a whole lot of screwing up. We did screw up, but we knew when we was wrong because we knew what right was.
Yes, sir.
You know?
So after that phase, well, how long did you play with Marcus at that church?
Man, it was a while. It was a while, man. It was quite a time, and during that time, we was doing weddings and stuff like that. So it kind of went from church stuff, you know what I'm saying, to kind of start to kind of be more open with, cover songs, secular songs, and stuff like that too. So, it was. I was over there. I was over there for a minute, and I started spending a bit of time kind of playing keys here and there as well too.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? A little bit, but yeah, I was over there for a while.
So, because do you remember when we met at the I think the first time we met each other, I don't know if you remember. I think it might have been at Marcus's dorm. Were you there?
I don't remember. You might be right, but I can't remember. That's been a long time
because
ago.
That's when he showed me Logic. I remember being in Marcus Pitt's dorm and his laptop was open and I saw Logic 9. But that's around the time, I'm trying to remember how, but I know that's how I met you.
Okay.
Like when VAR started playing over there.
Okay.
That's how I met you some kind of way.
Okay.
But it's very long ago.
Long time ago. And that's probably right because I used to spend a lot of time over there. I think I helped them move in, all kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and I feel like I remember going with Vars over there and y'all were there.
Okay.
But anyway, after you leave Marcus Dad's church, what do you do next?
I want to think I had a period of, I had started playing in Raleigh with Joel.
Okay.
I was playing bass, and then that kind of started opening up something a little different.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So what kind of style, what was going on there?
Well, he was another one that kind of had the same style of, he was into the Kevin Bond, Said Thompson type stuff. So I was really kind of forced to starting to catch on the passes and, all that kind of stuff. I don't really remember what happened. But me, him, and Vic was playing there, and but I want to think that's kind of where I was after playing at over there with Marcus and them.
And did that So like, as far as at this point, where are you with like how your bass sounds at this point?
I definitely don't think I was at a sweet spot.
Yeah.
I definitely don't think because I still didn't really know how it was really supposed to sound. And a lot of times it do depend on, it can depend on your bass. A lot of times.
Yes.
Sometimes it don't, because Orlando used to take my bass and make it sound good. You know what I'm saying? But he let me know that a lot, that first off, it's in your fingers
Finger
first.
tone. Jamario taught me that a long time ago.
It's in your fingers first, and then you adjust your bass, and then you move to the head and stuff like that.
Wow. So it's fingers first, then bass, then whatever amp you playing out of.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's why most cats, they gonna go ahead and set their stuff at 12 o'clock first, you know, just to have like a bass there. And then, you know, from your fingers to your bass, you know, to the head or whatever like that. But I don't remember saying, oh man, my bass sound good. My bass playing sound good.
So do you remember when you decided to say like, okay, I'm about to figure this tone thing out?
Kinda.
Okay.
Kinda. I think I had started kind of realizing that because it's a bass, it ain't really supposed to be bassy. You know what I'm saying? Like that was
a bass. Just because it's a bass, don't mean you got to have the smiley face EQ.
Right. You know. So that was one of the things that I really had to realize first. It's about it cutting through. You know what I'm saying? Not just, you know, not just that bottom there and stuff like that. And it still took me a long time to be able to accumulate that sound, because once you get used to, you know, just hearing a bottom end, now you feeling like it ain't too much bottom there. And you have a hard time trying to find a happy median.
Yeah, because you think you thin now.
Now you think you thin. You know what I'm saying? So it just takes more of listening to other cats. You got to keep listening to people and listening to people and listening to people.
So you never stopped doing that?
Man, when bass took off, like it just really, really took off, and I ended up just having that bass in my hand so much, and I was growing rapidly fast.
Yeah.
Rapidly fast.
So when did you get into like because it's two parts that I really want to talk to you about, because I want to ask you some questions about. There's you, the producer, and then there's you, the session bassist too. Which one of those, after all that stuff, which one of those came first?
The bassist.
Okay.
So what ended up happening was, fast forward, I moved to Greenville.
Yes.
And I knew I had to move to Greenville because that's where everybody was. That's where Kariji was. That's where A-Love was. That's where Meat was. You know what I'm saying? That's where Mayberry was. That's where Duran was. That's where everybody was. And for a while, I'm still staying in Kinston, and I'm like, I gotta get there. I gotta get there, because I don't feel like I'm gonna get any further, you know what I'm saying, in Kinston than what I have already gotten. So eventually I moved to Kinston. I mean, I moved to Greenville, and I met do you know Ira Wooden?
I don't. The name sounds familiar though.
Ira is like an amazing producer that a lot of people don't know about.
Okay.
And fast forward, eventually I met Meek. When I first met Meek, I met him and we was doing some quartet stuff together with Mr. Vic, because Mr. Vic is...
So Mr. Vic was really like the connect for a lot of y'all.
He was, you know what I'm saying? And that's Kariji's uncle.
Makes sense.
That's Kariji's uncle. So we had started doing some stuff with Mr. Vic group. And from there, me and Meek would end up and do some records at our studio back in the day for different local artists and all that kind of stuff. So
I do know who Ira is. Yes.
So that's when I kind of started getting a whiff of
the studio,
cutting in the studio, which was a whole nother ball game.
Which is what I really want to talk about. Yeah. Cause you're one of the people that I can talk to about that. Cause that's real life.
Yeah. So, I eventually met Ira, me and Meek. We was doing a lot of cutting, you know what I'm saying, over there. And, even then, I still wasn't hip to having my bass tone sounding a certain way, because now it's really gotta be right. But I didn't know how to make it right, because I got a 5-string bass at this time, but it wasn't like a session bass.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
just it's 5 strings.
Yeah, it's just 5 strings.
Is that red bass?
Nah,
Did you have a bass that was like burgundy or red or something?
Probably so.
You just don't remember?
Probably so, but it was a brown Washburn. A lot of people remember that Washburn because I had it for a long time.
Yeah, so that might be what I'm thinking about.
Probably so.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking about.
I had that for a long time, and that was my first time starting to really do a lot of session work. When me and Meek, we was doing a lot of recording there at our.
So were you learning on your own, like how to play clean and all that, or was like somebody saying like, "Hey, do that better" or "Do this better"?
I wasn't getting that.
Oh,
I wasn't getting that, because we was just
going for what you know.
Yeah, we was blessed to be getting work. You know what I'm saying? We was blessed to be getting work, but probably around that time we was probably really kind of starting to get into like session work and stuff like that. But I ain't know no session players.
Yeah,
I won't get into here no bass on sessions and stuff like that. So I didn't know, man. I just, like, through a while, I learned through trial and error.
Yeah,
I learned through trial and error for a while, a long while.
So I wanna park at the session thing. I wanna dig into that, because now you are really good at it. Let me say that out loud to the people in the back.
I appreciate it, but
bro, when it comes to session, bro, Dennis Dudley is lethal.
Hey, I appreciate it. But
so take us through, because I want, for a bass player that's watching, who's been doing church and gigging and wants to get into being a session bassist, take us through the process of how you really hone that craft.
I think the biggest thing is not rushing time. Everything is going to happen over time, and a lot of times just by default we try to rush. You know what I'm saying? We try to rush because we want to get better, or we want to get called from certain people, or we want to do this tour, or we want to make this money, or we want to connect with this crew over here and all that kind of stuff. So we end up rushing in a lot of areas, and it's like, what's going to come is going to come. You know what I'm saying? I rather be slow but right than fast and wrong. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people end up rushing. You know what I'm saying? But you're still not really learning the right way. So it, like I said, man, it took time. It really took time. It really took a lot.
And what was your during that time? What was your regimen like, or what was your mindset in order to get better? What were you doing to get better?
Well, for one, I never stopped practicing. I like I said, when I gained a really strong interest for bass, I practiced a lot. And like I said, I was connected to an amazing bass player, which was Orlando. So he was somebody great that I was able to connect myself with. You know what I'm saying? And then, man, I had friends like Kariji and them where he was hard on me.
Yeah.
Man, he was hard. Man, there was times I kind of skipped this, but back when I was playing at Paradise in Greenville, Kariji was playing keys there, and he was MDing, and he got me the job there. And there was times where he brought Orlando in a rehearsal.
Like, get him sweet.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That happened a lot of times, and I never did take that, the wrong way, because I needed it. But like I said, like, everything just kind of still continued to happen with time, and I wanted it bad because I used to connect with Orlando, and I would see him just doing stuff with ease, man, playing chords, and man, he can just run. He can just run nonstop, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted it so bad, but to look at what I had, you know what I'm saying, as somebody that was working with me, that's kind of why I was able to keep striving that strong to have somebody like.
So do you think it's good to have somebody that kind of mentors you?
Yes, but at the same time, you still gotta have a mind to work on your own because you still got a job to do at the house. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of cats, they a certain way when you're around or when you're in front of who you know is taking it serious, but you don't really have the same passion at the house.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So
you gotta want it for yourself, not for whoever's teaching you.
Yeah. And that's how I was with Orlando and with Kariji, you know, in front of him in rehearsals and stuff like that.
Were you ever embarrassed by it?
Man, yeah. Man, this dude came to my rehearsal. You know, he came to my rehearsal, you know what I'm saying? And but I knew it wasn't a thing of him, you know, Kariji wasn't trying to embarrass me. Kariji was trying to get me right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He was trying to get me right because he was already into a lot of stuff I wasn't into. He was already into this chick career and all this kind of stuff. And he was already playing keys strong and stuff like that. I'm still trying to become a good bass player. You know what I'm saying?
So shout out to Kariji for being that advanced and still giving you an opportunity.
Yeah. And then A-Love and Kariji was doing a whole lot of playing in their bands around that time. So when A-Love kind of broke away and started doing his own thing, I was coming behind him and playing with, you know what I'm saying, Kariji. So I had to come behind him. And then eventually A-Love had me playing in his band. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's another full circle moment.
Yeah, I never really had a lot of time to just be comfortable.
Yeah, because all these boys you naming, they don't play. Like, they are great at what they do, and they don't do the half steppers.
Yeah.
Like, they give you a little bit of grace, but it ain't but so much grace. Now, tighten up. I don't care.
Yeah.
If you with us, tighten up.
Yeah.
You ain't got no, I just start playing, I ain't got none of that. They ain't trying to hit none of that.
No. If you say this what you want to do, we going to hold this pressure to you. And you know what I'm saying? And Kariji he already had some Terrence White and Joel and stuff in his blood. So he was bad. You know what I'm saying? Joel used to cuss at us in church and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, man, you had to hear that. You had to deal with that stuff. You know?
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people, they ain't going to be able to handle all that. But I'm glad I was able to, handle it.
So did you develop like thick skin, or you already had it?
I think I already had it. But being a musician, you kind of gotta develop a different level of it, because a lot of times you might feel like you sounding pretty good, or you might feel like you getting somewhere, but you might have somebody to make you feel like you still ain't getting nowhere.
Facts.
You stuff like that.
Sweet, and then you run up on somebody and make you be like, "Well, I'm going home to practice."
Yeah. So yeah, but like I said, it just goes right back to it was all a process, and it took me a very long time to feel like I'm kind of starting to kind of get somewhere with this.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stick with bass.
Okay.
Before I go to production.
Okay.
You get to the place now where you're playing in situations where you in churches and you playing with musicians where they hand you stuff to learn, and you got to learn it. Of course, I know you said you used to like learn like the end time messenger stuff and stuff like that. But what was it like once you got to the place where the expectation was you need to sound just like that record?
I think it started being right around this time too, because around this time is when I kind of really started being introduced to a lot of bass players from records like the Daryl Freemans and stuff like that. So that's when I really started to understand bass a little differently. You know what I'm saying? And even listening to AJ on those records, a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, I would hear him moving a certain way, and I didn't understand why the bass was moving a certain way and stuff like that. But I'm like, this got to be what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? So, I think a lot what helped me with that was studying records and starting to study records at an early age, and that was still something that that I wasn't always, strong at, but I had a gist of, a lot of it.
So I want to ask you this because some musicians don't know the difference between listening to a song and studying a song. What is the difference?
You said from what? Say that again.
Listen, like say for instance, you give a musician some material to learn. You say, learn this material. Some people think if they put their ears on it and they know the basic changes, then they've learned the song. But then there's studying the song.
Yeah. I think once you start getting a certain level of work, it's not learn this no more. It's more so like transcribe this. You know what I'm saying? That's when you really got to start getting into details. You know what I'm saying? Like, the church, where we kind of grew up in, and I'm just talking about in general, all of us as a whole. That's where you can kind of just learn and kind of come. I heard this on the radio.
I know the basic changes. I'll get through it.
Yeah, you don't have to transcribe, at that point. But when you start working with like a lot of artists, a lot of different artists, or playing in more so bigger situations, and a lot of people don't use the word as transcribe, but that's what it is.
And like when I heard you say, listen, I was at your house one day and you used the word transcribe. And that's when it dawned on me that people don't be transcribing. They like put their ears on it. Okay. 1 to the 4, 6, 2, 5, 1. They don't care nothing about the past. They don't care nothing about the special in the second verse.
Right.
They don't care nothing about the walk up to the bridge.
Yeah.
None. It's like
the right voices.
Yes, but then when you say transcribe, it's like no.
Right.
You need to listen to it, and when you pick up your instrument, you shouldn't hear the difference between you and the record.
Right.
That's transcribing.
That's transcribing. It's all the complete details, like trying your hardest not to miss nothing. The dynamics, the velocity changes, all that kind of stuff. And that's something else that just comes with time.
Yes,
because we just by default we learn first, and a lot of people don't get in situations where you got to start transcribing. A lot of people just don't get blessed to be in situations where that's demanded for you to do. You know what I'm saying? That's something else that kind of come with time, but eventually, man, it's gonna be asked that you transcribe this record, transcribe these songs, playing the exact octaves, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So if you had to give one piece of advice to a bass player whose aspiration is to become a session player, what would that advice be?
I would say really do a lot of listening. Do a lot of listening and learn what you can from others, because it's hard to learn on your own, and what you may think is right, a lot of times it's not right. You know what I'm saying? So to have confirmation from guys that matter and guys that really got a voice out here, be able to take that advice, you know what I'm saying, and that constructive criticism, no matter how it feel, whether it's good or bad. And it don't necessarily have to be a bass player, because a keyboard player can help form a bass player really, really good as well. You know what I'm saying? So just being open to advice, you know what I'm saying, and, constructive criticism, and practicing at home, and being true to your gift, and just really taking it serious, you know what I'm saying? Not giving up, you know what I'm saying? Like not giving up, because most people that end up getting somewhere, they don't never see themselves getting there early on. You know what I'm saying? They
just end up there from not giving up.
Yeah, through time, you just end up getting work. One thing leads to another. Before you know it, and then here it is, you got somebody like Adam Blackstone that's, you know what I'm saying, over everybody and over everything. He didn't always see himself in that light, but when you continue to work hard, like, man, the sky's the limit,
Absolutely. That's good, man. What up, y'all? I'm Rajay, and I'm interrupting the pod to present an opportunity for y'all to support the brand and the fam. So do this for me. Head over to rajxshaw.com, click the merchandise tab, and grab a hoodie, t-shirt, or hat. And remember this thing: no matter what people say or think, live your life.
Now back to the episode.
All right, during the commercial, Dennis brought up an amazing name. First of all, I'm gonna tell the story, and then I'm gonna let you come in.
Right.
So, Brenton Northern, right? We know him as a drummer.
Right. I didn't even know him then.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
I know, and I'm talking about he's a beast drummer.
Right.
Like one of the best drummers in the area.
Right.
He around us in Wilson all the time, playing at the house, shedding. We call him Man. Now they call him Brent, but that's Man.
Yeah.
Man is the drummer. Cole. Then he like, yo, I'm moving somewhere up north. He moved, right? He was like, I'm moving for a little while. Yada yada yada. I talked to him. He's like, yo, man, I think I'm gonna learn how to play keys, yo, because he used to watch us. He used to watch us play, but he was always a beast drummer.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you. I don't know how long he was gone. He came back so good. Dennis, he came back so good on organ. I was like, bro, there's no way you learned that much that fast. I'm like, that's scary.
Yeah.
Because he was only gone maybe a year or two or something like that.
Right.
When the last time I seen him, he was a full-fledged drummer. When he came back, he was smacking. I'm like, brother, you're really insanely good.
Wow.
And how did you end up meeting him?
Playing in A-Love band.
Okay.
And that was a pretty full band. And Deron was playing keys for A-Love. And I didn't know Brent, never heard nothing about him or nothing. And sometimes I would see him sitting in our rehearsals, you know what I'm saying? And he just sitting in there chilling. And after we get done rehearsing, we packing up and stuff, and he come get on the keyboard and just start playing. I'm like, who is this dude?
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, who is this dude? And I'm talking about he was just like just fiddling, but I'm just like, whoa, this dude right here,
he different.
Yeah, and you right here in Greenville, I ain't heard nothing about you or nothing.
Yeah.
And man, we got like this. We
Yeah.
got like this, man. We started kicking it, man, and I gotta give Brent a lot of credit because he was the first person that I kind of connected with that I was able to get like a lot of information from, and I was able to hear a lot of information from. And man, a lot of times we would just be sitting in the room, and I would learn the same lines that he was doing on keys. I was learning them on bass, and we didn't have no drums, no metronome or nothing.
Sheesh.
And we just used to sit in the house and I would learn lines that he was doing on keys, and we would just be sitting and learning lines that used to make me scale the bass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that kind of started opening.
Stretching you.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of started opening up like information a little bit.
Yeah, and that was the thing, like, when I seen him play, I'm like, nah, he don't just know how to play. Like, there's a different, he's playing from a different place.
Yeah.
Like, the knowledge base, like, what's going on in his mind is very, very different.
And he has such a strong influence from like jazz, you know what I'm saying, in his playing, that you would think that maybe that's what he went to school for. And when he did go to school, it was for classical.
Which is more crazy.
Yeah, and that ain't what you hear in his playing. You're going to hear, you know, like some jazz influence, and that ain't even what he went to school for.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
So that stretches you as a bass player.
Yeah.
Are you now starting to get into production?
Brent is, come to think about it, he is the reason. Brent is the reason that I got into production. Man, listen, I don't even know how to turn a computer on without Brent. Just come to think about it right now. And it started with me making click tracks. It started with me making click tracks, and I didn't have a computer. He had a Windows computer. We was playing at a Kojic church in a hosky at the time, and we used to ride to church together every Sunday. And it was his computer. He had Reason on his computer.
Yes, Lord.
And he never really learned how to use Reason. And I used to sit on the passenger side and make click tracks on the way to church on Sunday. And that's what started. That's really what started production for me and stuff.
So after making click tracks, what was the next step that made you get into it?
I started connecting with one of my homeboys, TJ Jones, and he started putting me on to like gear and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So he started connecting me with the right cores that would be accessible for me to start recording, like a MIDI to USB and stuff like that, showing me how to start recording in a session outside of the click tracks.
Yes.
And eventually I kind of started recording, keys, a little bit here, a little bit there. It was trash, but it was a start. My click tracks was trash too.
Did you quantize them?
That's one of the things that TJ showed me how to do, quantize. Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So you're making the click tracks, you hook up with TJ, he gets you your MIDI stuff straight. So did you go hard like, I want to be a producer?
No, because another guy that me and Meat was working with was a guy named Kendall, and I'll never forget this particular moment. I remember being in Kendall's studio, and man, one time I just remember looking up at his computer, and I'm like, I don't never want to do this. Man, I just, when you start looking at the grids and stuff like that,
it's very intimidating.
Man, yeah. So, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, I remember telling myself, sitting down, looking at the session that we was working on, I don't never want to do this. The reason why I really got serious with production is a lot of times they were dealing with other artists. So a lot of times you got to either try to wait till they have available days or whatever the case may be, but not being able to record when you want to, that kind of pushed me to a place of really wanting to start to record on my own. So after I started learning a little bit, learning some keys, in Reason and stuff like that, I just started learning a little bit more.
And you still like pacing yourself.
Yeah.
Asking questions. This person know this, how you do this.
Oh man, yeah.
Because y'all, the thing about Dennis is, as good as he is now, he still do the same thing today. Like, hey, I need you to listen to this, buddy, because I don't know. Like, hey, I got this song. I don't know if this snare's smacking. I'm gonna send it to you. Let me know.
Man, yeah.
But that's dope to do though. Like you don't play around. And like one thing I learned from Dennis is like, okay, if I decide I want to do X, Y, and Z, the first thing I'm going to do is call the homies that do that well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm about to go on this journey, and I'm going to need you to just guide me and just let me know. I'm going to do the work, and then I'm going to send it to you, and you just let me know if I'm going a little too far left or right or if I need to straighten up.
Yeah.
Like, the humbleness to do that, do you know where that comes from?
Having friends that was doing it right, man. I ain't want to be the wrong one. You know what I'm saying? And man,
because you're connected to too many people that do it right.
Man, too many. I got too many friends that's doing it the right way, and it sound good. I'm just like, man, I can't be sounding trash. And man, I got friends on speed dial. We spend a lot of time on FaceTime.
Yes, man.
Hours and hours.
Yes.
A lot of friends, man. Yes. A lot of friends.
So now you've gotten to the point where you're a producer. See, you see how he did that? It's true though.
Man, it's a forever. I'll say that.
You have to. You have no choice.
You got.
But the crazy thing is, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
And the reason why I know that feeling is because that's how I feel about mixing.
Right.
Like my wife used to tell me, like, you could do it yourself, and I'm like, nah, because when I be listening to these records and my stuff don't sound like that, so it's like, no, I'm not a mixer. And then this will happen. You level your stuff out, and it don't sound bad. You put a reverb here and a compressor there. technically you mixing.
Right.
You may want to sharpen your craft or learn some more tricks to the trade,
right.
but you're operating in it.
Yeah.
So at this point, you are definitely a producer. How does it feel?
It feel good because I came from not wanting to do this. Like I said, I remember sitting in the room like I don't want to do this, and now I'm running full sessions with no help.
Yeah, man.
Mixing and mastering and sending files off and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and I'm being trusted for guys to be able to trust me with work and stuff. So it does. It feels good. It feels good.
Which brings me to the next point. Like, you've been doing a lot of dang, that's so much. You've been doing a lot of music directing too, and programming for people. What has that journey been like?
Man, it's a whole nother ball game with that. That opened up something totally different. And how I kind of got into arranging and programming and stuff like that, I found myself early on starting to really hone into scores, like movie scores and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I've always been into a certain type of shows and movies and stuff with plot twists and all that kind of stuff. So you always got music that's going hand in hand with those moments.
Yeah.
That's really making those moments what it is. And I started, studying film scores and, getting their master classes and all that kind of stuff. And really I'm studying arranging and programming and really don't know it. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually that's when arranging and programming and producing really, really started.
And so the last thing before we go that I want to talk about is, although you're from a small town, you've been putting in work that has positioned you to get the attention of major people.
Right.
Right? To people who are looking to connect with a different caliber of people or a different caliber of artists or musicians and artists in other states, being from a small town, how did you get there where you started to get the attention of other artists and producers and stuff?
Social media have been a big thing.
Yeah.
Social media has been a big thing. Social media is how I started connecting with Rex.
Yeah.
And start working with Rex. And Rex is somebody that we all came up hearing about his name. He playing for everybody, you know what I'm saying? So that was a social media connection. That went from me just playing bass on records he was sending to me to getting me to program and arrange for him and seeing him the full session.
But how did you get his attention in the first place? Was it like a bass cover or something?
Yeah, I did a cover of a Mary joint. I did a cover of a Mary joint, and he sent his respect and stuff like that. We had some words kind of back and forth, and then this was a while down the line, and I think maybe he hit me up at a particular point. Hey man, I want you to cut some records, but this was a while.
Between the post and then him hitting you.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I hear you, when you talk about patience, you can meet a person today, and if you eager, you can mess the relationship up moving too fast.
Yeah, because through all of this time, I was doing stuff with certain people, and I would post, and people looking, people watching, you know what I'm saying?
Whether they tell you they are or not.
Yeah, people watching. So, I was getting, great opportunities and all that kind of stuff. And eventually he was hitting me for work and more work and more work. And, some stuff going to come through social media. Some stuff just going to come through relationships that you have with people that you already know.
Yes.
Relationships is big. And I tell people in any art, any industry, you work off relationship. It's a lot of people that's out here that's not as good as what you are and stuff like that. And but they working off a relationship. A lot of people is working off relationship.
So how big is maintaining good relationships?
Man, it's big. It's big. You can't beat it. Like I said, you got people out here that's working that a lot of people may say they don't really deserve to be in this place or whatever the case may be, but at the end of the day, man, relationship means everything. And there's a lot of people that keep work and they making a killing and they doing great in life based off of who they know. You know what I'm saying?
And how do you maintain good relationships?
Being integral, you know what I'm saying? Being integral. Like we was talking about earlier, you know, getting back to people, knowing how to communicate. Man, it's so many things. Not necessarily wanting things from people too. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times it's just good to be able to have regular conversations. You know what I'm saying? And not just about music. You know what I'm saying? And I learned this from somebody, Jeremy Haynes.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? He's somebody else, or he's done a lot, but there's been a lot of things where we have had like regular conversations and stuff like that, and he has done a lot of like checking me on and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times it had nothing to do with music. It had nothing to do with music. So a lot of times, like, even though you admire somebody, you know what I'm saying, you might be inspired by somebody or something like that, the conversation doesn't always have to be about music.
Because that's a good point. Because as brothers in the music game, sometimes we got to talk to each other about relationships, children.
Yeah.
Like you were telling me earlier, like, it is your musician friends that have held you down through some crazy personal stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it gets to the point where you want to build relationships that go beyond the music so that when it's time to do the music, you know what type of people you're working with and it's more natural.
Yeah, it's a relationship there and not just business. You know what I'm saying?
Not just a transaction.
Yeah, because you can feel that. You know what I'm saying? You can feel that, and it feel good when you playing with your brothers. It feel good when you playing with your brothers. You know what I'm saying? Versus it's a business situation. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to happen because everybody ain't going to feel like family to you. You know what I'm saying? So, you know.
Okay. I got to ask you this. Have you been in any situations where you did have a close relationship with people in one season and then you get in another season and it falls apart or y'all disconnect?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember what the reason was?
A lot of times it's not even a particular reason. And like, I used to hear a lot of times seasons change, and a lot of times it just really mean that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of grow in separate areas, you know, a lot of times, and you go from possibly talking every day, talking every week, or doing this, doing that, and you just kind of grow separate ways. You know what I'm saying? And it happens, and it don't have to be ugly. You know what I'm saying? It ain't got to turn out ugly. You ain't got to be like, oh, this person.
It don't got to turn into beef.
Yeah, it ain't got to turn into beef, but, you know, it happens because really some situations is going to last and some situations just not going to last, you know?
So in those situations where things have grown apart with people, did you try to mend it or did you just let it go?
A lot of times I think the best way to do stuff like that is to, if it's going to mend, kind of let it mend itself.
Yes, sir.
Because a lot of times you can do more harm than help. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times I think it's just better to let it organically like do on its own.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, and if it's meant to be, then opportunity will present itself at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of stuff is a timing thing too, you know.
Timing is big to you.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard earlier today when we were talking before we did the podcast, you spoke about your son and timing.
Right.
Like, and it made sense. You like, hey, I'm in this situation where at this point, it's this way. 30 13 years later, it's this way.
Right.
What gives you the patience to let time do its thing?
Because, the more you live, you'll realize that you can't rush life. It don't matter how bad you may want something, and you could be ready. You can feel like you're ready for something, but you can't rush life. And then also, if you let life take its course, when you finally get what you thought you was ready for at a certain point, you'll realize why
you weren't ready.
You'll realize you weren't ready, and that can be whatever, music opportunities, relationships, whatever the case may be. So you can easily damage something. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it may be. So you can't rush life, man.
Yeah.
You can't do it. And there's some things that we want really bad. We want some stuff really, really bad, but it's like, like I said, you just gotta let life run its course sometimes.
Yeah, man. So right now today, with all that you've learned, all that you've gone through personally and professionally, where are you at now?
I'm still growing, man. I'm still growing. I'm still chasing to become a better bass player, but my focus is different now. You know what I'm saying? Like I went from focusing on a lot of tricks and all that kind of stuff to more studying stuff that's more solid now. You know what I'm saying? And that's when it come down to being a bass player, just being a musician in general. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes simple is better. You know what I'm saying? Not putting like too much pressure on myself, and communicating a lot. You know what I'm saying? To try to do things alone, you can keep a lot of pressure on yourself. You can deal with stress, all that kind of stuff. And that's why I communicate with people like yourself a lot. TJ Wilson, I
shout
called
out to our boy,
I called now, you know what I'm saying? So many people I call so much, you know what I'm saying, to ask questions, you know what I'm saying? I'm texting. It could be something that's probably silly, you know what I'm saying? But I need that confirmation.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So just trying not to put a lot of pressure, on myself, and being friends with people first, and let business be there too, but be friends first, because that means more than anything. Yeah. Because we all, and me and Marcus, I was talking to Marcus Anderson on the way up here, and we was just talking about everybody is dealing with something. Everybody got something going on, but to have friends, that you can kind of call and have conversations with and kick it with, all that kind of stuff. That a lot of times that mean more than anything.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Bro, thank you for coming.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, my alarm just went off, so that must have been God saying, "All right, y'all through."
Right.
Is there any last words you want to say to the music community before we wrap it up?
I would say, man, keep pushing, and don't look at what's right now. Don't look at what's right now, because you won't be able to gauge what's later based off of right now. You know what I'm saying? And I said it a little bit earlier. A lot of people that's where they are now. They didn't always see themselves being where they are now. So the best advice that I can give, and I still give this to myself, is to just keep working, and what's going to come is going to come. And you can't pinpoint your blessings. You don't know what's going to come, and you can want this and want that and end up having greater. So that's why it's better to just work, just keep working, and don't give up, man. And everything will kind of line up.
Yes, sir. It's been another episode of the RXS Podcast. Dennis Dudley in the building. We out. Peace.
Just
that you got that fire. Keep it burning, don't let nobody put it out. Just live your life. Every day you wait, take the time to realize that you got that fire. Keep it burning, don't let nobody put it out. Just live your life.